Hey everyone, welcome to Engineering Technology 497. This is a computer networking class, and I'm very excited to show you a little preview of our projects for this class. And we're going to be talking about how computers communicate, different types of operating systems, and a lot about communication protocols. So let's get started. So let's talk about local area networks. And this is the basics of computer communication. This is looking at it from a top view. So we have, in a typical network, we will have servers that could include Windows or Linux servers. We have the clients, which could be any kind of a Windows machine or a Mac or any device that's on the network also, like a Wi-Fi device, a Wi-Fi camera, a printer, and those kinds of things. Then you'll have a switch that connects it all, or a hub, and then you'll have a router that can route all the data out into the internet. So what we're going to be doing in the lab is we're going to be creating some servers, we're going to be creating some clients, and we'll be able to bridge connections and communicate with each other. We're also going to add some devices to our network so that we can communicate with it. We'll create websites as well. We'll be able to control things from the website also, like lights or switches and little motors and things like that. So it's going to be a very exciting lab. It will introduce you to the whole world of basically information technology as it applies to computer networks. We'll talk a lot about communication protocols. You'll see a whole bunch of different terminology that you're going to learn in this class. Here's a little bit of what it looks like when you have a more complex network and the different types of communications as it applies to a worldwide, for example, or a wide area network communication. Right? There's so many modalities of communication and so many protocols, and they all have to talk to each other, right? You have different kind of circuits that communicate along the various networks around the world, including satellite, for example, wireless communication, cellular communication, wire communication, and all those things. And now with the whole Internet of Things, we have hundreds of thousands, probably millions of devices that are connecting to the networks as well. And each one of the devices has its own unique address, basically, that is used to communicate. Alright, so for this class we're going to be using, and let me find it over here. We're going to be using this book, Introduction to Networking, with Network Plus. And what I like about this book is that it has a lot of different information about communications, but also there's a lot of labs that are included in there as well. Lots of questions, step-by-step guides, and so this will help you with the test questions and also with doing these projects that we're going to see right now. So the way that the labs are divided, you'll receive a memory stick, and in that memory stick you'll have a list of projects. So there are 5 projects that we're going to be doing, and those projects have different kinds of things that you have to do inside of them. So let's take a look at a summary of those projects. Open this up. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a Windows domain. We're actually using a Windows 2019 server, and we're going to be using Windows 10 computers. So you'll learn how to connect computers virtually. So we'll be creating a virtual environment on your computer. In the virtual environment, you'll install a server, you'll install a client, and then you'll create a virtual network between them inside of it. So it's going to be really neat. You'll create a website inside there, and you'll be able to access that website from your client and those kinds of things. You'll learn about security, the different protocols, firewall rules, and those kinds of things. We're also going to be using a product called Wireshark. It's an open source network sniffer program. So you'll be able to capture packets that are going on your network, or packets are basically the bits and bytes of data that are traveling on your wire, your networking wiring. You'll also learn the basics of creating user accounts, making shares on the servers. So all the typical things that you'll need to know if you are like a junior systems administrator, for example. The idea behind the labs are to prepare you for introductory systems analyst positions, for example, where you'll be able to manage servers and telecommunication devices and networking devices as well, troubleshoot them, install them, configure them, advise people on how to connect these things. That's the whole idea behind all of these labs, but it'll give you a well-rounded introduction to things that we do. And I say we because I'm actually an IT manager full-time. So what I did was I took the IT route when I graduated from engineering technology. I started off as a systems analyst, and then I did network engineer. And then eventually I moved up the ranks all the way to becoming an IT manager. So now I manage people and applications and those kinds of things. So that's usually the route. You start off either as a technician, as a junior analyst, and then you'll move up depending on your interest. And so this kind of gives you a taste of all the different things that we do in the IT world. So I have a lot of students who have become IT professionals after this class. This class inspired them to become IT professionals. Many of them. Just to give you an example, the lady that you see here with the glasses next to this student with the hat, she went on and she just finished her master's program, and she was so interested in computer security. The first thing she asked me when she walked into my class was, how do I hack computers? And so I happen to know a few tricks, and so I was explaining to her that there's different levels of hacking, and there's the good hackers and the bad hackers and all that. But she was so fascinated by this that she now works for a government agency doing computer security, which is fascinating. Okay, so highly recommend that you look at those kinds of positions later on after this class. All right, so the next one is we're going to be installing a Linux client or server as well. So basically you'll install a Linux server, you'll learn how to configure and how to install the server in a virtual environment. You'll learn how the security works, how the ports work. We'll use Wireshark to scan the network and look at the packets that are going on the network. Okay. Then we're going to be doing some simulations. And so in the simulated environments, you'll be able to say, okay, what about if I have 300 computers on this network? How do I manage them, and how do I do some load balancing? So you'll actually simulate like you're installing a network for an entire company and run some simulations on there. And then we're going to be doing some IoT, Internet of Things. We'll be playing with Arduinos, so you'll be doing some programming. This is C code, C programming. And so if you're familiar with the Arduinos, you'll have a lot of fun. You'll have an embedded server in the Arduino, and you'll be able to attach devices to the Arduino, like a switch or an LED or a motor. You'll create a website where you'll be able to control these devices via the website, and even wireless. Okay, so here's the FTP. The FTP, I'm sorry, this is the Linux lab, And in the Linux lab, we're also going to be installing what's called an FTP server, which is a file transfer protocol server. This is what's used if you want to share really large files, large size files. Okay. And that's going to be it, but let's go through each one and let's open it up and see what that looks like. Okay, we'll start off with project number 1 just to give you an idea of how that looks. You'll have the memory stick. The memory stick is going to have everything that you need, all the instructions, all the software that you need. There's also a lab kit that hopefully you'll get, and in the lab kit you'll have all the hardware that you need as well for the labs. Okay, that is minus your own computer. You'll need your own desktop computer to run the labs. And I highly recommend at least an i5 processor or better, and at least an 8 gigs of RAM machine, because you're going to be running multiple computers inside your one computer. Alright, so now that we have that summary, let's go ahead and let's close this real quick. Okay, so let's open up project number 1. And let's open up our instructions over here. Alright, so the project number 1, let me make this a little bigger so you can read it better. Okay, so I have a series of videos that you'll want to see to follow, and the videos will show you step by step on how to do things. There will be a few things that you'll have to figure out along the way, but that's going to be part of your training and your research and things like that. So this is the first project, installing and configuring a Windows server and a domain controller. So in the videos I show you basically everything that you need to do, but also I got a lot of instructions here on what to do. Everything that the lab report requires will be in green color on the instructions. So everything that you need to turn in to me will be in green color. I also have examples of all the labs of what they need to look like so that you can refer to them and figure out it, because there's a lot of little things that you have to look for. And so I want to show you an example of what the lab reports look like. You can kind of see here. So let me show you here. Okay, so like the network simulations lab, these are students that did this lab, and basically you just need your name on it, what the project is, and give me a little introduction of what the project was about. Okay, and then in this case there's a whole bunch of simulations that need to be done, and there's a special software for that you need to install. And this is, they're just taking screenshots of the labs that they're doing, right? In the screenshots you're able to see what it is that to answer each one of those simulations. Here's the IoT, for example, with Arduino, right? You can see also screenshots, and they did a screenshot of their code, but in this case I would like to have the file of the code that you wrote as a separately, but also screenshots of what it looks like. In most of these labs you will have to do a demo to your instructor. Okay. Oh yeah, here's the code, for example, that they did. Okay, so the labs don't need to be you know, super detailed, but you will need to provide everything that is required according to what you see in green color over here. Alright, so this is really cool. We're going to be installing a product called VirtualBox. Everything is in your memory stick. Okay, you already have the latest and greatest VirtualBox in the memory stick. It is right here if you look at the file structure. Right, so you have the VirtualBox software here. There's also an extension pack that you'll need to install, but the instructions are all included. And you have the sample reports of what the report should look like. and you'll have other software that you'll need to get going. Plus you'll have the videos that will show you step by step on how to do these things. Alright, so there's a few questions that you'll have to answer, and the way to learn about this is by completing the lab. But also, if you want all the theoretical besides the lecture, if you want all the theoretical, I highly recommend that you of course read the book, right? Because the book has everything that you need to know there as far as theory for it. Here's the other thing. In the questions that I'm asking in the lab, I tell you where to find some of the answers. So like lesson 1 will show you the answers for that you can find on the book. You can also find by doing some research on your own, or by doing the labs. Completing the labs will also answer the questions. Alright, so there's details information on how to install all the software that you need step by step. In some cases you'll need to refer to the videos on how to install this software, right? Because it could be it could take a while to configure some of this software. Okay, but it's really neat. Once you have all these things going, you'll see how computers communicate with each other. Like I said, there's a lot of terminology on the different protocols that you need to learn. So there's a lot of new things that you will learn with this particular lab, all in a virtual environment, by the way, right? So the product that we're using here, the VirtualBox, you can install a whole bunch of operating systems in here and run them all at once. Of course, it uses up your computer memory and hard drive space. Okay, so I give you a lot of tips along the way on how to minimize that and how to get rid of all these things once you finish the lab, so that your computer is not using up all these resources. Every time you install a new operating system, it's going to use some of the RAM in your computer. Your computer will get slow. Okay, but again, I give you a lot of tips on how to manage these things, because I've done quite a bit of this stuff here. This environment, this virtual environment, simulates virtual environments that are out there in the real world. So I used to manage a virtual environment from a software called VMware, and we used to manage 300 virtual servers, for example. And so that's a lot of servers in a big data rooms. And so in here you are pretending that your laptop or your desktop is that data center, and you're managing 2 or 3 virtual machines in that data center, and you're using a software, in this case called VirtualBox, right? So it's a free software. The details of the lab will tell you everything you need to know about that. Okay, let's look at our second project real quick. This is just a very quick summary, because each project has very, very fine details on what you need to do. Okay, here's the second project. Okay, we're going to be installing and configuring a web and FTP server on those virtual machines that you have. Okay, again, we're using a 2019 server, which is the latest and greatest. I have downloaded that whole thing into your folders of your memory stick, because they're big. I mean, we're talking about 5 gigs for Windows 10 machine image. This is an ISO. It's like a CD-ROM image. This is the server 2019 image is also there, right? And all the instructions show you how to install these things. So it'll save you tons and tons of hours downloading all this software. Again, the instructions are there in really fine detail of everything that you need to do. But I highly recommend you follow the videos, because the videos will have a lot of tips on how to do things. I show you when I got stuck doing things, for example. You'll see it live in there in the video, and what I did to bypass things or to troubleshoot problems that I had while I was installing everything. So everything is fresh as of 2020. It's got the latest and greatest information in here. So that's that one. Let me open up the next one here. So project number 3 is our Linux project. Okay, wait for it opens up here pretty soon. Oh, looks like I probably already have it open. Yes. So this is the Linux server, and this one is going to be a little bit easier. You'll install a Linux machine in your virtual box, right? You'll have a virtual environment, and you'll configure the machine so that it bridges to your local desktop. And so with that machine, you'll be able to communicate back and forth between your desktop and your virtual machine. You'll install and configure this particular server. It's a very simple Linux server. You'll configure all of the networking environments for it. You'll use Wireshark again to capture packets that are going on the network. Right? Packets are the bits and bytes, all the data that you're sending on the network. And you'll be able to create a website on it, and with your desktop you'll access your website. You'll change the website to show something unique about you that you want, and you'll learn about securing your server as well, right? Your Linux server. So there's a lot of neat things in here. You'll learn how to install packages on the system, and of course for the report, right, everything is in green that you'll need to answer. Alright, so this is really neat. Let's go to the next project. This is the project for the simulation software. So we have the new version of that software, and there's instructions on how to activate this software. It's an educational version of this very powerful software that allows you to do some modeling of it. And so let's open up this here. So there's a whole bunch of instructions for each simulation. So you'll open each one of these PDF files, and you'll have to follow the instructions on each one to open the simulations on it. Okay. And again, I showed you a little bit what that particular lab report looks like, right? So this student here, they follow the instructions for each one of them, and then they created the simulations, and they ran the simulations, and then they provided the results. Okay, so this is really neat. If you're into more analyzing and more simulating types of things, then this will be a great lab for you. Again, there's a little bit of everything here for everybody, right? If you want to be a systems administrator, if you want to be a network engineer, if you want to do more like designing and simulating the networks, right, where you're actually designing the networks that people are going to be using, this is also for you. Okay. If you're more in the IT world and you like embedded systems and you like programming and you like to actually control things remotely via Wi-Fi, for example, or over the network anywhere in the world, this is for you, right? This would be amazing if you were controlling the robot arm from the arm that's on Mars, right? What protocols are we using to control that robot arm all the way from Earth, right? What programming environments were used? This will give you a taste of what that's like. Okay, so this is really neat things. Another thing, if you're into computer security, this is for example, we're sniffing packets here. So this right here, this program Wireshark, extremely powerful and free, open source. All this software that I'm using, it's for the most part is open source except for the Microsoft products, but everything else is open source and free, and you're able to use it. But it's amazing, right? It's amazing the kinds of things that you can do with this thing. Again, this is to give you a taste of all the areas of computer networking that you might get into eventually, right? This is the path that I chose to do when I went to school, and there's jobs everywhere in the world for this particular kinds of topics. Okay, so this is why it's important for you to learn it. The certification part, you know, it's there's a lot of certifications out there. The Network Plus is the most basic certification out there, and Network Plus shows that you understand quite a bit about configuring computers and configuring the networks aspects of it and making them communicate, and that you are aware of all the aspects of networking protocols in your class, right? In the lecture, you're going to learn everything about the OSI model, okay? All the different layers that those packets, those bits and bytes need to pass through in order to communicate with one computer to another. It is fascinating how this works. It is amazing, and hopefully you will enjoy it. All right, so let's look at the last project here. By the way, all the labs that you need, right? All the different PDFs that you need are in your packet here. Everything you need is in here. All your software, all your instructions. You just have to put the time to go through each one. I hope you have the time to do all the labs. Hopefully the instructor will have the time to go through all of them. But if not, I recommend that you do the ones that there's time for and you have a big interest in. All right, so the last one here is the Arduino IoT, and on this one, it used to be all wired, and I'm hoping to introduce a wireless lab with this one as well, so that you can do some Wi-Fi with it. Right, so on this one right here, you are going to be creating an embedded server inside the Arduino. So the Arduino has an embedded module that you can make it a web server. Okay, so it's pretty amazing. You have a lot of sample code in here. Of course, there's things you got to figure out. So we don't just give you everything right right there. There'll be sample code on how to configure the web server, but you'll have to figure out some of the code on, for example, how to turn on an LED with a button, for example. So you're going to combine C code with HTML code. So you're learning scripting, you're learning programming, all those things. Anyways, you'll learn a little bit about, I'm sure that many of you have already learned how to wire things as well, right? Based on the other classes that you've taken. The good thing is I'm going to give you a lot of material here and a lot of examples, including the sample reports that you can refer back to. Okay, but this is really amazing. You'll learn so much with all of these labs. All right, and with that, go and start lab number 1. Check out that video, that full video of it, and I wish you luck. And welcome to this fascinating world of computer networks.